and welcome to Lost in Literature. I thought we'll look at subordinate clauses today in detail. Oh yes, we'll also be dealing naturally with independent clause in the bargain. So basically we'll be looking at clauses today, and perhaps I could teach you a trick or two to identify what kind of subordinate clause we have in a sentence. I mean, is it a noun clause, an adjective clause, or an adverbial clause? All right, so let's plunge right in. All right, basically clauses, as you know, are a group of words which contain a subject and a predicate. You cannot have a sentence without a subject or a predicate, right? So a clause naturally has a subject and a predicate. Okay, so let's take a look at a number of sentences. The first one I have here is, Michael bought a new computer. You just have one subject here, Michael, and predicate being bought a new computer. All right, now a sentence construction being what it is, you can add on, link more sentences to it, and that is the magic of writing. You can add on more sentences and kind of enhance the meaning far more. So let's take a look at the second sentence that we have here. Michael bought a new computer, but he still has the old one. So here you have two sentences linked. Michael bought a new computer, but he still has his old one. Now, both Michael bought a new computer, he still has his old one, can stand by themselves. If you whip out the but and read the sentences as separate units, you'll realize that they are totally independent, they make sense, and both are clauses. And you call them independent clauses because they can stand by themselves. Now look at the third sentence. Although he still has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. Although he still has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. Now, this is a different kind of construction in the sense that the first part of the sentence, yes, it's a clause, all right. It has the subject Michael and it has the predicate still has his old one. But can it stand by itself? Can I just say, although he still has his old one and stop there? I can't, because you'll tell me, all right, continue, tell us what else. Although he has his old one, and I have to go on. And so I add another clause to it. Michael now has a new computer. All right, so the first part of the third sentence that I just read cannot stand by itself. This is called a dependent or a subordinate clause. Okay? Because it just cannot stand by itself. It would make no sense. Although Michael still has his old one, just doesn't make any sense. So it is a subordinate clause. All right? Okay. Now, let me take up the three types of subordinate clauses. All right? the three types of subordinate clauses or dependent clauses that have to link up with main clauses are basically the noun clause, okay, and the adjective clause, and thirdly the adverb clause. So all the subordinate clauses come under these three terms. Fine, you have the noun clause. Okay, let me give you an example of the noun clause. I know that my math teacher eats numbers for breakfast. There you are. I know that my maths teacher eats numbers for breakfast. I know is an independent clause, whereas that my maths teacher eats numbers for breakfast is totally dependent on I know. Therefore, it is a noun clause. It is a dependent noun clause. All right, let's go on to the next one, the adjective clause. My physics teacher who lives next door got kidnapped by aliens. Now you have my physics teacher, that is part of the main sentence, and then you have a clause in between, who lives next door, and then you have the completion of the main clause, got kidnapped by aliens. So what you have here is the main clause, my physics teacher got kidnapped by aliens, and who lives next door is an addition, and it is an adjective clause. As simple as that. All right? You can't just have who lives next door. Just doesn't make sense unless you link it to the main clause, the independent clause. Let's look at a sentence with adverb clause. I feel worried because my English teacher is turning into a ghost. I don't know, I can't get the ghost picture, but whatever it is, I feel worried because my English teacher is turning into a ghost. Again, I feel worried can stand by itself, but what about because my English teacher is turning into a ghost? Can it stand by itself? No, not at all. So there you have an adverb clause, right? So now you know the three types of subordinate clauses, subordinate or dependent clauses. The first one is a noun clause. The second one is an adjective clause. And the third one is an adverb clause. Fine? So that's perfectly clear. Now I'm going to teach you a nice trick. Supposing your teacher wants you to identify the clauses. Okay, let's say she couldn't care less. She doesn't want you to identify anything. Still, it would be nice to learn what kind of subordinate clause you're dealing with, because that would make you rather confident about your grammar, you know. So let me give you tips on how to distinguish between these three subordinate clauses, because the main clause can be identified. It'll be often right at the beginning, or it'll be at the end, okay? And sometimes, or pretty often, it could be in the middle. So these are the three structural positions. But when we are looking at subordinate clauses, how do we identify? All right, take the noun clause first. Noun, as you know, is the name of a thing, a place, an animal, a person, right? You have common nouns and you have proper nouns. You have collective nouns, abstract nouns, material nouns. You have also gerunds acting as nouns. So all these nouns come under one category. And when you're given a sentence like, let's say, I know that my math teacher eats numbers for breakfast. You know categorically that I know is your main clause, that is your independent clause. But what about that? My math teacher eats numbers for breakfast. That's a subordinate clause. How do you find out what kind of clause it is? So the first thing you do is underline the subordinate clause. And after that, you replace the entire subordinate clause with it or something. Okay? Now, it or something, as you know, are pronouns. Right? And if you read that sentence again using it or something, it would still make grammatical sense. For instance, I know something. What do you know? I know that my math teacher eats numbers for breakfast. So, that my math teacher eats numbers for breakfast is very much a noun clause, because you can replace it with the pronoun it. It would still make grammatical sense in the sense that the sentence is complete with a subject and a predicate. I, subject, no, predicate, right? Okay, so that's the first thing you try the minute you're asked to identify a subordinate clause. Let's move on to the adjective clause. An adjective clause, straight away, you must keep in mind that it will be introduced with who, which, whose, whom, etc. And also that, right? These are the words used to introduce an adjective clause. So let's take up the first sentence. My physics teacher who lives next door got kidnapped by aliens. So you can straight away recognize it as an adjective clause. Why? Because it contains the word who. Alright, now let's try substituting that word who with that. Alright, that is used for noun clause. But let's try, it's also used for adjective clause. My physics teacher that lives next door got kidnapped by aliens. Now, my physics sir that lives next door. We can easily replace that with who. If that is possible, then it is very much an adjective clause. Okay? Now, try replacing it with something or it. It's not going to make sense. My physics teacher, something, lives next door, got kidnapped by aliens. It reads strange. Right? So, an adjective clause is one, a sentence which contains who, which, that, which can be replaced by which or who and whom. Okay? And if you try replacing it with something or it, it's not going to work. But that can be replaced with which in an adjective clause. Alright? Now let's move on to adverb clause, and I love this because this is the simplest of all. When it is neither noun clause nor adjective clause, after you have applied these tricks I told you, what else is left? Adverb clause. Let's look at it. I feel worried because my English teacher is turning into an alien. I feel worried. Something, my English teacher is turning into a ghost. No, that doesn't make sense at all. So it is not a noun clause. Alright, I feel worried which my English teacher is turning into a ghost. No, it's not adjective clause either. Doesn't have any of those WH words. So it has to be an adverb clause. Now how about these tricks? It is actually fun doing grammar, believe me. Now I've got this little exercise here, and we will do it rapidly, alright, so that we consolidate what we have learned. Identify the subordinate clause in the following sentences. You are what you eat. You are. There you are. You are. Can stand by itself. What you eat. Underline that. That's your subordinate clause. Replace it with something. You are something. You are someone. Makes sense. So what you have here is a noun clause. Let's take another one. Pinky turned into a pig because she ate like one. Pinky turned into a pig. Straightforward. It's a main clause. Because she ate like one. Now that is your subordinate clause. Okay, let's try the something rule. Pinky turned into a pig. Something. No, it doesn't make sense. Pinky turned into a pig which... No, it doesn't make sense at all. Then what kind of clause is it? There you are. It's an adverb clause. Alright. My mom, who loves to cook, made a giant sandwich. My mom made a giant sandwich. That's your main clause. Who loves to cook? Now, who is a WH word here, used to introduce an adjective clause. You can replace it with that and it would still make sense. My mom that loves to cook, that. My mom who loves to cook made a giant sandwich. It's good to try inserting some of these adjective clauses with that, like this is the house that Jack built. This is the house which Jack built. He's the person that I was talking about. He's the person who I was talking about. So all these are adjective clauses. Alright? Minnie drank up the water in the pool so that she would not drown. Look what Minnie did. So our main sentence here is Minnie drank up the water in the pool. And why did she do that? So that she would not drown. That is your subordinate clause. And it is an adjective clause because you cannot say Minnie drank up the water in the pool something. Doesn't make sense. You can't even say Minnie drank up the water in the pool it. But, and you cannot even say Minnie drank up the water in the pool which that she would not drown. No, it's neither noun clause nor adjective clause. It is an adverb clause. Alright? Look at the fifth sentence. My friend is so skinny that he can run between raindrops. My friend is so skinny. My friend is skinny. He can run between raindrops. My friend is so skinny. Main class. My friend is so skinny that he can run between raindrops. That he can run between. Again, so that invariably introduces an adverb clause. You cannot have something there and there is no which or who or whatever. Alright? And that is it. I will leave the next 5 sentences to you. Try doing it. Try identifying the kind of subordinate clause it is, and do comment on this particular lesson I've shared with you. Let me know if it works for you, and I'll be happy to do more grammar before I get back to ICSE Julius Caesar. Right? So that's it for now. Bye, and I hope you do remember to subscribe to my channel, Lost in Literature. Bye.